Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today is another exciting show, and I'm definitely need to make sure you hear this story because, trust me, we have some great guests who basically have some outstanding stories. Some you might even find unbelievable, but the way that these individuals come in and out of that beast mindset and overcome is truly remarkable. But let me tell you a little bit about the guests that's happening today. Have you ever wondered? No, not even wondered. Think about being in a situation that you're helping your fellow man out. You see injustice being done. You intervene in that injustice. And during that process of you intervening, you're put in a camp without being in front of the justice system or nothing. You just put there and have to find a way to get your life back. Today on the show, we have a gentleman who not only done such a remarkable thing, such as escaping, but took all that pain and stuff and put it into helping others as well as helping himself. All the way from Italy today. Italy. Now, you know that's special when they're coming all the way from Italy to be on the show. I'd like to welcome Dana Silkiss to the show. Dana, welcome to the show, big guy.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
What a story. When we was doing the pre-interview, I told you nobody would believe it. Tell the viewers a little bit about you before we get deep into your story.
About myself or about the
No,
book?
just about you first. Who is Dana Silkiss
Okay.
first before we get into it?
Dana Silkiss, originally from New York, Long Island, actually.
Okay.
And I've had quite a few businesses I had retail stores on Long Island, North Shore and South Shore, a belt factory in the 90s, and I did displays for Polo, Ralph Lauren. And when I was young, I did a lot of music. Actually, I still do, but I was really into it then, recording and doing a lot of touring for on and off for 9 years. And I started off doing rock and roll. Hendrix was my big inspiration, still is.
Okay.
And then I branched off into more Santana type stuff, and then I got heavy into jazz. Miles Davis in the 60s type stuff, Herbie Hancock,
Oh, yeah.
Short, Weather Report. And then I decided to get away from society for a while, and I moved to upstate Pennsylvania and had a large horse farm, which led to a lot of other things, training horses that had behavior problems. And from there, I morphed into helping people with behavior problems. So it all tied in together. And then living in Pennsylvania, there was a big natural gas boom, and a lot of my neighbors were talking about it and getting involved. And so I started doing research, and I researched from like Oklahoma and Texas, where oil and gas have been going on for a long time, and came to the conclusion that the farmers and landowners in Pennsylvania were getting ripped off by the big oil companies. So I started representing them with my company was LOAG, Landowners Association. And I helped them get like higher royalties. If they had cows on their farm, then they would get compensated for the lost fields that they had to use to put on the gas wells and things like that. So that was actually very rewarding, helping in that sense, because a lot of people became a lot richer and better off because of it.
Right. you always seem to have had the ability to be a good Samaritan, pretty much. That's what it appears to be, that you have that good Samaritan about you. You had a moment in your life where you took a visit down south, Florida,
Yes.
Georgia area. Take me down that, because I thought that was very interesting.
Okay. Well, it started off, as I had mentioned to you in the pre-interview. I was in college at University of Colorado in Boulder, and my music calling became really strong. So I decided to take a sabbatical from college and form a touring band. I had various bands back in New York, but this one I wanted to be like really professional and out there. And I set up some auditions. I ended up in Daytona Beach, Florida, and due to a few different circumstances, events that happened, um, I saw this young black kid who actually became a really good friend of mine, getting beat up by the police. So, as I said to you, being young and foolish, I stepped in, and the cops didn't take too kindly to that. Told me to leave town, or they would force me to, one way or the other. They actually put a gun to my neck,
Wow.
and I was still there. I wanted to get my band together, so I stayed. And then about a week later, a little over a week, there was an event on the beach itself in Daytona Beach where the police had taken these metal bars, attached them to their patrol cars, and mowed down the people like 3 o'clock in the morning that was sleeping in tents and on the, it was very transient at the time. A lot of what they called hippies and musicians and stuff on the beach, and young kids and women and men. I mean, it looked like a war zone. They were bleeding and broken bones, you name it.
Dana,
So
about
me
what
and two other
year,
guys were helping out.
Dana, what year was this? I didn't mean to cut you off. About what year was this all taking place?
1975,
What year was it?
75. Yeah,
75? So
yeah.
the okay, finish telling the story, then I ask my question.
Okay. So then this bus pulls up, and a bunch of cops get off, take me and two other guys on the bus, put hoods on our head. And when the bus stopped, probably about 6 hours later, we ended up in a labor camp. And that's what I have a book and a sequel to it, because the second one is called The Aftermath, because what happened afterwards was almost as bad as what happened in the camp, because as it turned out, it was very political. There was a senator involved, there were judges involved, there was a mayor of a town involved from Georgia. So it was very complex.
Mhm.
And they actually found, when they were doing the investigation, they found two other camps, one in Tennessee and the other one, I think, in Western North Carolina, it was.
Let me ask a question, Dana. So the viewers can get a clear understanding what just happened to you.
Mhm.
You're in Daytona, you're working on forming your band. It's
Yeah,
during the 70s, peace, love. And you guys are just out there having fun, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere. But prior to that, you intervene with a man of color, and the
yeah.
police basically tells you to
In the
leave.
South in the 70s, yeah.
Yeah, leave town and so forth. But why did the police, as far as you know now, why did they find the need to go on the beach and just at random just run people over? What was their motive for that?
That came out later on because they wanted to clean up Daytona so that they would get more tourism and not have the transient people on the beach. It
So
was that
basically
they,
remove the hippies, the peace,
yeah,
love people out for the beach
yeah,
to
yeah,
allow a political move to take place.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, now it's making sense. So now how many other people, as far as you know, was put bags over their face, put in vans and dispersed into these different camps?
There were about 120 people at the camp I was at, and then there was a sister camp about a mile away that was only women, except for the guards, and they were forced into prostitution.
Now that, oh my God, this is crazy. So when you guys take the mask off, what was that first day like? Like, you clearly didn't know. I'm pretty sure you guys were asking for some type of legal representation. What was the first day like in this camp for you?
When we got off the bus, the warden was standing there, and basically we got the speech of, if we're good boys and listen to everything, everything's gonna be okay. Otherwise, it's gonna be very dangerous for us. Like, we didn't want to go through that. And I asked the question, like you just said, what about legalities? What about a judge? What about, and the answer was a gun butt in my belly.
You know, this shit
And
sounds like Shawshank Redemption, right?
yeah, yeah.
So you get there with these other individuals. How do you guys begin to, how long were you actually there? Did you even have a sense of time? Did they, you know, if they're trying to not to let you communicate with the outside, they sure ain't let you know the time. So how were they controlling you guys outside of fear?
Outside of fear, that was all fear.
Really?
Yeah, I saw him murder two people. One of the guys that got picked up with me went insane, totally insane, because he couldn't believe what was happening. They put people I meet twice in a what do you call it? A sweat box
Yeah.
to become good and listen. But there was a lot going on, a lot.
How did you keep how did you keep that? How did you stay alive? What did you do? Now you realize that after a while, nothing's happened. Something is wrong here. When do you start to formulate a plan to get out of this, or even if it's possible to even come up with a plan? And were you the only one thinking about trying to get out of here? Did you collaborate with the other people that came there with you? What was your mindset from
No,
that moment on?
no, I didn't collaborate at all because I didn't trust anybody,
Okay,
even people that were friendly with me. I didn't trust them enough to reveal what I was thinking. The minute I got there, I started planning,
really?
looking opportunities. Like if I saw one of the guards lit a cigarette and he dropped a matchbook, I would put it in my pocket, figure I could use that for something later on.
Mm.
A tube that figured I thought gasoline, just
When
little things like that. Just, and as time went by, I started waiting for an opportunity, basically.
you mentioned labor camp, what exactly was you guys' role there? We know the women were forced into prostitution. What kind of labor were you guys forced to do?
Primarily clearing roads, cutting down trees. They had tractors and excavators, stuff like that to level the roads. We had to build a swimming pool for, I think he was a senator, and stuff like that. Personally, what came out later on was it was free labor, and they would bill the state for all this work that was being done. But if you don't have to pay somebody, it's a lot of money coming in constantly.
Like I said, this sounds just like the real Shawshank Redemption
Yeah.
story. This is crazy. So when you're out there on the road and stuff, nobody asked questions that was driving by. I
You
mean,
know,
news media, nobody said
you
anything.
know, the whole time I saw nobody from the outside except for one meeting that they took me um, to meet with these two other guys that were businessmen, to improve the profitability of the camp, which is another completely different story, but together with it. They, even like going to the meeting, I didn't see one um, street sign no town signs, nothing. What they would do is blockade the road that we were working on.
I
So it was
got you.
off limits to,
And
you
they
know,
probably only had meetings with the people that was politicians and corrupt people anyways to keep
exactly,
everything down low. But my
exactly.
next question to you, and first of all, let me say thank you so much because I know it's a big time difference in Italy, but to even come back and reflect on what happened to you in your life, I know that had to be horrible to
Yeah,
go
actually,
through and be there.
writing the book was very cathartic for me. That helped a lot
Okay,
because for many, many years I couldn't talk about it. You know, or if I heard like a car door slam, I would jump up, like
right.
almost like PTSD. You know, like
Did
the aftershock.
any of the this is you have a family. I'm pretty sure everybody there had family. Even the women.
Hmm.
Didn't somebody's family and friends reach out to the media as missing persons and they start to look? I mean, was there even a call for engagement now that you know about it? You know, now that you're released, that you get out.
I had two friends that they hired a private detective who was an ex Daytona Beach policeman, and he's the only one that really looked into it. And he had a friend in the FBI, and the friend would only get involved unofficially
Okay.
because at the time, don't forget, that was Hoover time, J. Edgar Hoover,
Okay.
and the FBI wasn't much better at that time than the people that they were going after.
When did your what did you do to get out? How did you escape? And when did you put that plan into action? And how long had you
Um,
been there? Wait a minute, Dana. How long had you been there before you took your plan into action?
7 months.
7 months. Now you said I had enough. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, there was an opportunity that one of the tractors started sliding down, and one of the inmates got trapped under the tractor. So everybody started running to him. So there was a gas can on the side, and I used the rags I had and stuffed it into the gas can, lit it after took me like, I think 5 or 6 matches because I had buried them in the ground. And one finally lit. I lit the can, threw it under a car, and when the car, I took off when the car blew up.
Did they come after you? I mean, you being released or escaping, did you have any proof that this stuff was going on? If you had it got picked up by somebody, like did you probably didn't think about that? Like, what were you going to do if you got caught, or how were you going to reveal that they're really crooked? These people aren't supposed to be there.
Beyond crooked, yeah, murderers and I mean, you name rapists, you know, and some guys rape men, some, I mean, forget it, it was horrendous. But I had my father was a big woodsman. He had taught me and my sisters like survival tactics in the woods and fishing and all that kind of stuff. So I escaped through the woods, and what I did, there was a river, and I waded in the river pretty far, like 2 miles. And when I got out, I take my foot with vines and leaves and walked maybe 20 feet, and then I walked backwards back into the river. And then I kept doing that in different places so that if they did come with dogs, they would lose the scent in the
Hmm.
water. And then if I came up on the bank, they would think they found me and then go back, and it worked.
When you, what was the first thing you did once you was able to get what was your safe house? Like, did you go to a safe house? Where did you go once you realized you was there? Now you got to stay on the lam because when you worried about them putting out an all police bulletin or something for you.
Oh yeah, I was very worried about that. What I did was I saw this guy, he was about my size, and I went up behind him, knocked him out, took his clothes, took think it was $120. I left the rest. I didn't take anything else from him. Went to, this was in Jessup, Georgia. Went to a bus terminal and took a bus to St. Louis just to get away. And they never got me from that. What happened was when I got in touch with my friend in Daytona Beach, he said that the FBI was there. They were looking for me. So I had to go back to Daytona, but I went home to see my parents first in New York, and then I went back down.
What was the purpose of you going back down to Daytona to cooperate
So
with
that
the feds?
I figured they would get me for something. So I figured instead of being on the run, I was so tired of every day being there.
Mhm.
And luckily for me, as it turned out, when I gave evidence, they basically gave me immunity. And I never faced any charges from them either because of the horrific circumstances of it.
What evidence could you possibly have given them except for basically taking them to the location? But you probably didn't even know where the location was really at because they covered you guys'
No,
face.
coincidentally, this is very ironic. 2 days after I escaped, the my friend and the private detective and the one guy from the FBI found the camp and they raided it and closed it down. So
Wow.
if I had waited 2 more days or 3 more days, I wouldn't have had to be on the run.
Knowing what I'm pretty sure you did your research on it being shut down. What was the reasons that the FBI, how were they able to shut it down? Who tipped them off that this stuff was going on?
The private detective, because he had, from what I understood later on, and this is in my book, he had found the bus by getting some of the Daytona police guys drunk, and one of them had been a driver up to a certain point, and he saw. He said that what when he realized first that it wasn't in Florida was there was red clay under the bus,
Oh,
which is not in Florida. There
and
is
it's
sandy
it's
soil
in
and
Georgia.
everything. And that's how he started piecing it together.
Wow.
And they went on road trips until they found this one gas station where the bus had um, filled up gasoline. And they talked to the people inside, and they said, "Oh yeah, I think what he did was he said, oh, I lost the paper. I was supposed to go drop off something to the warden." And they were like, "Oh yeah, there's something up there. We don't know exactly. We haven't been up there, but if you go up there, and the prisoners and cops always come here to fill up." And so that's how
Whatever,
we started putting stuff together.
whatever happened? What did you, two parts question. You get they basically don't pursue criminal charges. You can't give you criminal charges because you was kidnapped along with the other individuals.
Right,
You guys were
right.
kidnapped. What did the state of Florida and Georgia do as far as the time that you spent there being kidnapped? And what happened to some of the other people? You forced into prostitution? Did any charges come up with these people? And were there any high
They,
profile political people?
there were charges initially, and then one by one, all the investigations were dropped, all the charges were dropped, like they just disappeared.
How does that make you
So
feel now, knowing that they illegally detained you? They made your life miserable. You know of people that was forced into prostitution, men that were murdered, raped, and so forth, and as well with the women. And then the state of Florida, Daytona, and parts of Georgia didn't do nothing, just dropped it.
nothing. Yep. I mean, they faked it for probably 8 months that they were indicting people, blah 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 blah, but nothing ever happened.
I'm
And
sorry.
I kept pursuing it, but and times were different. It's not like the cell phones now where communication and
Right.
internet, it was really tough.
So now even the statutes of limitation is out, and the people who did it are probably deceased.
That's why I'm talking about it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm sorry that happened. So you're taking all of that pain and you put it into a beautiful book, Midnight's Journey. Tell me a little bit
Yes.
about that, and how you took all this and 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 moved on with your life.
Well, what I did through the years before I published anything was to write down memories of what happened and the people, and basically wanted to dedicate it to the people who didn't survive
Mm-hmm.
that I knew. You know, that was very painful to me that they weren't able to, because a lot of them were really good people. They were just the wrong place, the wrong time, like I had been, and taken there. So from there, I remember making the choice of, do I keep this rage inside of me and the hurt and the pain and remorse of my life that had been lost? And I decided, instead of being letting it eat me up inside, to incorporate that and strengthen myself, my resolve. And I had, when I was younger, before this all happened, I was heavy into martial arts, mostly Shotokan and Aikido.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one reason that helped me survive in the camp. But more than the physical, the mental toughness that you have to do to be good at it. And
Mm-hmm.
that helped me to really focus, especially after the camp, to be able to incorporate myself into a better person instead
Mm-hmm.
of, crying about what happened to me. And nature and horses, I would say, saved my sanity, because
When,
horses, I call them emotional truth. You can't lie to a horse. You can be
okay.
smiling with somebody and tell them one thing. You walk in next to a horse, and if your vibe is not right, they'll run away from you or back away from you.
Okay.
So I started learning about that. What I did is it was funny how I really got into it. I'd always wanted horses, and I used to ride whenever I could, but never owned a horse because I didn't have enough property then. And I saw this ad in the paper when I was in Pennsylvania before I had my farm, and it was a pregnant lady who wanted someone to exercise her horses because she was too far along to be able to ride. So I did. She had two Tennessee Walkers, and I started riding them, and like they listened to nothing. They did whatever they wanted to.
Right.
So I'm like, this is crazy. So I said, I have to figure out a way to train horses. So what I did is I went out west back to Colorado and parts of South Dakota, and I studied wild horse herds, Mustangs, how they communicated with each other. And then when I went back east, I used the same methodology to communicate with the horses, and it's amazing how it works. Like
Really?
like a lot of people don't know, if you can force a horse to go in a forward direction for at least a quarter of a mile, and you don't hurt them, and then they realize they're not in danger, they'll come back and listen to you because now you're the herd leader. That's
Wow.
what the stallions do. They force the horses to wherever they want to go, to a watering hole, to where there's better grass. And so I would take them in a round pen and start controlling them that way, just by communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Get back on the horse, and whatever you do, I can use two fingers on the reins, and they would go where I wanted them to.
How do you
So
use?
then other people started finding out, other pregnant women. So I had a whole business going on with that. It was really cool.
How
So
did
that's how
you?
I started training horses. Yeah.
How did you? But you not only train the horses, but you do something totally remarkable now. You use those horses to understand personalities and to change personalities of our young youth. How does that work?
Right.
How did you come up with that?
Yeah. Um, it was really in the beginning stages when I would try to talk to other therapists. They said that it was voodoo and all this strange stuff, but actually now it's pretty well accepted. Um, we use the horses to unlock the personalities of children and young adults with cognitive behavior problems. As I told you before, ones that had trouble with the law or at school, they couldn't get along, and then, they put them in juvenile delinquent facilities. So to help them there to understand what the problem was, why they had this rage, or what was going on. We used the horses. I work with certified therapists, and we would give the children a chore to do, to either like go capture a horse in a corral, give them a lead rope and a halter, and say, put it on the horse, bring it to me. And the way the children reacted, and we did a lot of other games also, but the
Right.
way the children reacted would tell us, would open up a personality path for the therapist to follow. So one kid went up to the horse, and the horse kept backing away and backing away, and people that say it was a girl did the same thing over and over again. That's usually indicative of a abusive relationship, where they go from an abusive father to abusive boyfriend. Like they don't change their pattern at all. Someone else might do it and turn around and say, I never did this before. You do it for me. Here, here, here. And that's somebody who's dependent, codependent. Or, obviously, then you can have somebody who does it, and the first thing didn't work. They try something new, and then they're successful. There's somebody who's more confident, and it gives you a beginning of where to open up the person.
What is the success rate with this type of treatment with the young kids? Have you noticed a tremendous change in them, their personality? I mean,
Oh yeah, over the
what's the
course
success
of
rate?
3 or 4 months, a lot of them actually stayed and helped out with the horses after that, or like their grades started improving a lot. And the therapist told me that the success rate was probably 60% better than sitting in four walls and saying, what kind of childhood did you have? What happened here? Because it's that much more obvious, and the person doesn't feel like they're the target of all the questioning.
Now, is this something that, is this treatment available worldwide, statewide? Like how, if somebody that wants to be a part of this with their child, can they find it in their area? They have to go to where you guys are at.
No, I think now it's pretty widespread. I know I did some stuff in New York, up in Pennsylvania. They called me to Missouri, by St. Louis, right outside of St. Louis. New Mexico has something. I think Arizona does also. California I think has 3 or 4 facilities up and down the coast. Excuse me. So yeah, it's a lot more widespread now and accepted. And different degrees of or levels of therapy, because like I did at Prescott College, I think it was 2016 or 2017. They called me in to do a workshop, and I was like the bridge between the horse people, the horses, and the therapists. There were like 40 of them that came from all over the country, and we took them through all the steps of how to do it, and I showed them what to do. So that told me that it was a lot more interest at that time.
Let me ask a question before we wrap up. Such a beautiful story. Definitely overcoming and coming out a survivor, and then still bringing something positive into your life and giving it to other people in the way of children and development. If you had to give a message to the world now with what you've been through, what would that message be?
Don't become a victim of circumstance. Incorporate the hurt, the pain, the anger, and channel it in a positive direction. Because besides hurting other people, you hurt yourself more, because it's like acid inside of your psyche that will eat away at you until you become somebody that you're not because of anger or just feeling sorry for yourself. So you have to find a way to, I call it inner reflection.
Mhm.
And I do that by getting rid of dialogue within my head until you, and the hardest thing is that last thought to get rid of that, because that's a thought that gets rid of all the thoughts.
Mhm.
And from there, it's almost like it's a form of meditation, I guess. But what it does, it opens up your psyche, your subconsciousness. And from there, you can see, well, every aspect of your life, every memory can parade in front of you.
Hmm.
And from there, you can actually choose which path to take.
Hmm. You mentioned something that was really profound. I heard it when we first started talking. You said you're still friends with the guy that you intervened. What's that like?
Um, Very enlightening because back then he's partially why the camp was shut down, because he was so persistent to keep after the private detective to to find me. And he didn't know me that well at the time. Like he just was thankful for me helping to save him, because who knows what would have happened.
Mhm.
And we just became closer and closer and closer. And it
Little did you
amazing.
know you saved his life and he saved yours at the same time.
Right. Very well said. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that is, man, I'm getting emotional. That's crazy. How can the viewers get your book? And how can the viewers reach out to you for guest speaking and really to hear your story?
But my book is Midnight's Journey, MIDNITE apostrophe S Journey. And there's two of them, the aftermath also. Um, and I have a website. It's my name, www.danasilkiss.com, which basically explains everything about the book. And also, interestingly, there are people who are interested in turning it into either a series, limited series, or a feature movie.
Really?
And I'm in talk with a few people, but it always comes down to funding. So we're looking for an executive producer.
Really?
At one point, Ray Liotta was very interested, and things were moving forward, but rest in peace, he died, and that fell apart. But it was at that level of interest.
You know what? You've already put it out there in the universe. Somebody will pick it up. Trust me, they will pick it up. I think it's a great story. It's definitely a remake, a remaster of Shawshank Redemption. And I watched that movie repetitively.
Yeah.
Um, um, Once again, I know this was difficult to come and share this story because you have to relive those moments.
Yeah.
But at least um you've comfortable with it at this point in your life. Um,
Yes. I've come to terms with it. Yes.
I
And music
appreciate.
has helped me a lot. Music always soothes my soul.
Are you still playing music?
Oh yeah, drums and percussion. Yep.
Okay. I appreciate you coming on the show, Dana. I appreciate it so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.
Thank you, sir. And stay in touch.